there. Good morning, all of you. If you're just joining us, of course, you're watching Joy News. This is the AM show. We've done the news. Mapito CBD brought us the AM news. Time for us now to look at what's making headlines in the newspapers. Hello there, Ben.
Hi, Mama V.
Yep.
Here's another morning, and it's a very healthy Thursday, but a lot of matters to look at.
Absolutely.
And, so I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Daily Guide, Business Finder, the Ghanaian Publisher, and I think I shall do maybe the Catalyst in addition. So those are the papers I'm going to be doing.
Okay, so let me just start. I've got the Daily Graphic, the Daily Dispatch, the Daily Statesman, and the Accra. How do you call this one?
The Accra Times.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The former president's picture's there, so
it's
and
blocked
I'm not sure
everything.
I've seen the Accra Times before. This is the first time maybe for me. All right, let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Front page of the Graphic today. Of course, it's reminding us that COVID-19 is real. Wear your mask. But there's a very disturbing story that captures the front page of the paper. Death traps uncovered underground chambers pose danger. And you'd find shortly on your screen when you take a look at what's on the front page. Students of the police depot JHS walking close by an open underground chamber at Aveno. It's actually telling you something that's very common you'd find. And sometimes I wonder, especially when we're on our phones a lot of times these days, you just be walking and before you know, you and your phone or... but it says on the cover, telecommunication chambers in parts of Accra have exposed members of the public, particularly pedestrians, to danger. The underground cable access chambers have wide openings and are mostly found in the middle of pedestrian walkways, compromising the safety of the public. Usually you find that there's a complete road done, and then they'll just come and take some of the coverings off and lay their cables and leave it like that, exposing everything in the gutter and also putting the lives of people in danger. So very important that the paper is highlighting on this issue. And then there's a special supplement on Ghana Stock Exchange at 30 in the inside pages. Government votes $60 million for Skills Development Fund. Good determiner of election winner Asantehene. God, determiner of election winner Asantehene tells candidates. Graphic holds town hall meeting in Tamale today. If you look at page 24, it says failure by COVID-19 testing labs to provide information worrying. That's according to the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji. And then presidents inaugurate a 13-member peace council, urge members to sustain peace. More people investing in stocks, according to the Ghana Stock Exchange. On the back page, can stars survive Sudan threats as Akuno faces first test? The earlier one, the very early one that broke our hearts, it was just a friend deal. Right now we're getting into
between
some
us
real
and Mali.
action. Yes.
And then I believe Qatar.
Yes.
And we did much better against Qatar. I think we thumped them by 5 goals too. So, hey.
And then hearts will be great again. Hello, that's according to board member Dr. Nyahu.
Will be?
Yes.
You will be great
hearts
again?
Of Oak, believe
what happened? So that means you are on the same level as the Kwaibi Brim 11 right now,
Oh,
right?
see, a day like this, that was yesterday, reminds us of not only of the great tradition in history, but also the huge opportunities which lie ahead of us, and how far we can take this club.
The huge opportunities for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Frobia, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, to thump you, in recent years, you've not really fared well against us. I don't know what antidote your team has against us.
You're sounding like Kumasi Asante Kotoko is in a great place. You're not in a great place.
No, but here's the point. We may not be in a great place, but we're in a better place than Hartlepool. And any day, it's a better place to be.
I disagree with you.
The Ghanaian Times this morning now, and just note it's 25 days to election 2020. Now, 14 people have been injured as fire gutted a gas filling station in the Volta regional capital of Ho. You can check out that story on page 13. Very sad scenes there. And today, as we engage core, it's only fitting that we also talk a bit about the disinfection that has helped the government to fight COVID-19, and that's according to the Deputy Savannah Regional Minister. Ghana observes Remembrance Day in Accra. Those strong men who stood in our stead, World War I, World War II, they were commemorated yesterday, and we continue with that observation. Now, there was a weekend downpour and 8 people perished in Accra. Very, very, very sad development there. The other day I hit the streets, around Hansonic, and it was, you also, I'm sure, the report from there. Well, in some places, it appears each time the rains hit, disaster would be in the offing. That's actually on page 3. I'll get a bit into that. NPP, NDC, and bloody clash in Karaga. 7 injured, 1 arrested. And the part I am happy about when it comes to this is how members of both political parties, leadership, were saying, look, let's not do this. Both sides were one. Let's not, get to the point where we're willing to kill one another and all of that. At least some of them were saying that, and I hope that's a message that resonates, especially with the youth. And that ties into the story on page 14, which says, don't allow anybody to use you to foment trouble. That's the youth being told that by the chairman of the Christ Apostolic Church International, Apostle George Yabua. When you go to the back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, it says government commits $60 million to support private enterprises. And there's also this one, over 122,000 household sanitary facilities constructed nationwide. Madam Cecilia Abnat Dapa, Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, has been speaking on that matter. The Daily Dispatch next?
Yes, the Daily Dispatch. Front page says, battle for Ashanti, NPP targets over 70%. NDC gives a humble 30%. That's what they want from the Ashanti region. Of course, it's an MPP stronghold, so you can't dream too big. Mrs. Lordina Mahama joins NDC's 2020 campaign. It's been a while. Lots of people were asking, especially because the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, has been very active, on the campaign trail. And they were asking, where is the former president's wife? Well, she has joined the campaign now. She started a familiarization tour of the Kintampo South constituency in the Bono East region on the 9th of November. So she's going around asking people to vote for her husband, basically because she says he's got the track record. Government's fights against COVID-19, Savannah region disinfected. And then Bosts made profits under NDC, stop propagating falsehood, according to Iwada, former Bost MD. On the back page, the full story of the battle for the Ashanti. But there's this other one. National Security Ministry meets NDC leadership, assures of adequate security during polls. And the press release that came out of this meeting, signed by the Information Minister, also did indicate that all security persons would have tags, so you could identify them as security men and women. Because remember that during that security brief by the election security task force, they did indicate that we'll have CID and national security officers. Subsequently, the conversation was, okay, would we know them? Because if we can't identify them, then how can we report if any of them, misconducts or misbehaves, if you like, at a polling station? But during that meeting with the National Security Minister, it was cleared. So they would have tags that you could identify them. And then they've also said that they're going to give information to all related parties, so you know who is at the polling station at whatever time. That's good. But there's more to that on the back page if you want to read the Daily Dispatch newspaper.
Well, let's move on to the Daily Guide. Notice anything curious about the Daily Guide this morning?
Oh, yes. Color has changed.
Well, it's practically in black and white.
No, I think usually they've got a blue, but I see a pink.
Yes.
Oh, no. This is not the Ghanaian Times. This is the Daily Guide.
Yes, I'm saying the Daily Guide. So usually there would be some coloring, but today it appears to be more
it's plain. And I thought it was the Times. That's why I said they usually have the blue.
Yeah, so it would have quite a mix of colors. Interesting one there. But it says on the front page, NDC failed in Upper East. That's according to the VP. In recent times he's been touting the record of the MPP in the Upper East, and he says, look, putting us side by side is a no-brainer, so to speak. Those are his words, not directly. But anyway, pensioners happy with SNIT. And SNIT has come to the fore in recent times. A lot of people questioning even the benefits that pensioners are getting
really happy with SNIT?
Well, that's why I find this very interesting. But that's on page 6. Now, Mahama sacks Amidu from NDC. And here's the bit. Mahama has been asking whether Amidu, a senior member of the NDC, still is with the NDC. That was the question that was posed. And of course, this story, latches onto that question and goes on to ask, is he a member of the party? Has he been sacked by former President Mahama? I think the party has its own protocols. And in recent times, for example, that constituency executive who reported Alhaji Sinari and was axed, it is formalized. And, Amidu card-bearing member, I don't know what, but...
yeah, but what's the significance of that?
The party has been saying there's no bad blood between them and Amidu. So this question, well, it begs questions.
You would never mount a political platform and campaign for you anyway. It's not something that he was doing. So
when it comes to the man, Amidu,
whether or not he's a card-bearing
when it comes to Martin Amidu, if you followed him across, never underestimate him. He's capable of anything. National security meets NDC gurus. That's on the back of the call for neutrality and impartiality. But this story is one that I will likely not do, so I just wanted to mention. Sometimes we paint the picture as though everything were bad in Africa and nothing good. $7.7 million stolen from Western German Customs Office. Now, if it were in Africa, you would hear all the hullabaloo, the hubbub about it, but check it's not only here. Never say die, Hearts fans told. Oh, those ones whose bones are rotting already. And look, while Hearts is celebrating 109 years and can't even manage a good bus, Kotoko, Brazilian handed number 10 shirt. Who was your last signing again?
Check the records. We have a new bus. Hello. Stop hating.
Let's do some other papers.
When you celebrate your birthday, you get goodwill messages. Or you've been giving us bad vibes since yesterday.
No, but we celebrated you yesterday. We've gone past yesterday. Now, it's your reality check.
You're not even our city rival.
It's your reality check now.
This is the Ghanaian Times. No, this is the Accra Times. Yeah, the Accra Times newspaper. I'm getting a bit confused because you're confusing me. Okay, Mahama better than Akufo-Addo, according to Eagle Party, urges Ghanaians to end the Sakawa government in 2020. Akamba energizes youth. Your toil and sweat would be rewarded. Agalgata Security Agency swiftly act on all intelligence to avert any violence. MPP NDC visible. MPP NDC visible than other political parties, according to Cordeo. And then let's go out and vote as Ghanaians. That's the Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu. And then, okay, you do the business finder.
Well, there's talk about the ACFTA, the Africa Free Trade Agreement, and 74% of firms being in the dark. Then COVID-19, World Bank supports Ghana with $130 million. That story is on page 2. Inflation apparently dropping to 10.1%. And those are the major stories in the Business Finder newspaper.
Let me do my last paper, the Daily Statesman. On the front page, NPP women commence 14-day fasting ahead of December 7. NPP is for all. Bawumia shoots down NDC propaganda. National Security meets NDC ahead of December 7. I just shared a bit of the details, and they say they're going to be meeting all the other political parties. And I guess they're only independent candidates in this race as well.
Siedu Walker. Well, the Ghanaian publisher this morning asked Mahama to return Airbus bribe money. Gabi jabs the NDC. Not that there's been any conclusion to that matter. But you've brought joy to the poor. Shama Chief tells Ekufuado. And then Savannah Minister Lord's Market disinfection exercise. Those are some of the stories from that newspaper that I'd love to share. They also go on the foreign front and talk about clashes over Ivory Coast vote as neighboring states urge talks. You know, President Ouattara has gone for his third term, something that the Constitution ordinarily didn't warrant. Some changes, so to speak, were made, and, well, the country is in a bit of turmoil. Hopefully it will not spill over.
Okay.
You're done with your stack of papers,
sir,
then?
Well,
the Catalyst this morning says, blame leaders for COVID-19 spike. Randy Abbey saying that. That's the same rhetoric that Dr. Asa Asante of the Political Science Department, University of Ghana, has been telling us. And there's a Kufuado and Ghana's elephant to follow Trump and USA elephant into the bush. They also talk about JM storming the Ashanti region. We'll be bringing you details of that this morning on the show. But let's start with the Daily Graphic.
Yes, so still the story on the front page, the banner headline, the death traps uncovered underground chambers pose danger. The paper is reminding us that it brought a publication back in 2018. It published a story which was headlined, Life Amidst Risk, Storm Drains Remain Uncovered. And it sought to draw the attention of Vodafone Ghana, the Electricity Company of Ghana, and the Ghana Water Company, as well as uncovered storm drains and the fact that they pose a danger to pedestrians and motorists alike in the capital. They were hoping that these organizations would do what is necessary and cover these open drains where they've laid, they sort of uncovered to lay their cables. But very little has been done. And 1.5 years on, the companies seem to have done very little to cover their utility vaults, in spite of the fact that they have become potential debt traps. So the paper is reminding us of a danger, but they're also saying that, we did say this 1.5 years ago, and the specific companies that we're hoping would cover up these drains have not done so. I don't know what else we could do to get them to do what is right.
Well, very sad development there. I've actually seen witnessed someone fall into one of these, and it was terrible. Because you go all of a sudden, so you're not expecting it, knee, jaw, everything. It was a sad spectacle. And sometimes you would see what you see in that photograph
they put
in the
sticks,
newspaper.
Especially so to alert drivers.
But an individual could still fall into that. And that's the problem. Imagine hitting the concrete there. This country.
But
I think some of the most basic things we can do.
We need the states, we need the assemblies to step in.
Right.
Because these places are not like in space. They are located somewhere. It's not enough for the media to highlight these situations. The assembly should even see it first, but let's just say
just
that
like they should have seen.
But we've highlighted.
That building that collapsed on the church people and all of that. 20+ years.
Yeah.
They saw it, ignored it, and that's exactly what goes on. I guess life is not so. Is not given that much prominence.
Yeah, but even if you're not doing anything about it, but the media exposes these
highlights
things.
it.
Yeah.
The last time when I went to Hansonic, that's exactly what the people told me. They said, this problem has been with us for decades. They all come. In fact, a lot of people didn't want to speak to us. You know why? They said, you do this all the time. We talk and talk and talk. Nothing comes out of it. And so you can feel the pain of the people. They become inured to whatever is happening. And they just feel it's not really a change in government that will do anything for us.
I want us to encourage ourselves. You see, we can't stop talking. Even when we feel tired, we should encourage ourselves to talk, because the moment we stop talking, see that already they are not minding us. So imagine that we're not talking at all. That one, they're bobo.
You have a very good point.
You've got to encourage yourself. We have to speak, even if we're saying the same things every day.
The Ghanaian Times this morning, and I'm going to that story about the weekend downpour, 8 people perishing in Accra. Now, the story says 8 people, including a mother and her 5 children, got drowned during a downpour in Accra last weekend and on Monday. Now, the incident, which occurred at Bawelafa, Achimota, and Lakeside in Ashali-Butchie, involved adults and children between the ages of 4 and 10. Their lives just snuffed out. Now, their bodies have been retrieved by the police and taken to the police hospital mortuary for autopsy. And the PRO of the Accra Regional Police Command, Deputy Superintendent of Police, Ifeatenge, disclosed the tragedy to the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday. Just a bit of more information. She said on November 8, 2020, a mother and her 5 children who were sleeping in a kiosk at Ashali-Butchie were swept away by the rainwater on Sunday, and their bodies were later retrieved and taken to the police hospital. So there are similar incidents involving the others. I have always said, and I have newspaper clippings going all the way back to the 50s, the 60s, and the rhetoric is the same. The rains come, flooding happens, people die. For how long? 63 years. I mean, there are some incidents, force majeure situations that even advanced countries like the tsunami situation we saw in 2006, thereabouts, among others, that even the most developed countries would struggle with. But here, the least downpours result in people dying. And I keep saying life is not given prime of place in our country, Ghana. But let me just do this story as well. Eschew politics of violence. It's on page 9 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The whole Catholic Diocese of the Justice and Peace Commission has asked political actors to conduct their political activities in an atmosphere of peace, devoid of violence. So that is the thrust of the message they're tying into the youth being told on page 14 not to allow anybody to use them to foment trouble. For me, it's a wrap with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Okay. Any others before we do myjoyonline.com? Well, let's see. Just about one to go. And this one would be the national security meeting, some NDC gurus. And the Ministry of National Security on Tuesday held a meeting with some officials of the opposition NDC upon a request by the latter. And the meeting, which came after a call by the NDC members of Parliament for neutrality and impartiality from the state security agencies in the conduct of this year's general election, discussed, among other, preparations by the National Election Security Task Force for the pending general election. And you would recall that on November the 5th, 2020, the minority NDC MPs called on the state security agencies to show this neutrality and impartiality. So the issue here being that ahead of election 2020, at least one side, some of the minority, ends thinking we need better when it comes to neutrality and security, even from the security forces themselves. But is there going to be the possibility of ever having an opposition party thinking that the police service, the apparatus of state when it comes to the use of force is not being partial towards them? Because you would realize that when the NDC is in power, the MPP cries foul. When the MPP is in power, the NDC cries foul. Looks like it's a cycle. Business as usual. All right, let's go to myjoyonline.com. Let's tell you what's making headlines on our page. This one. Our blessing has guaranteed NDC's 2020 election victory. Okay, it says your blessing has guaranteed NDC's 2020 election victory, Mahama tells Otunfo. What's interesting is the angle that the Daily Graphic picks, where it says, for instance, that Otunfo says only God will determine the winner of the December 7 polls. And he said if any of the presidential candidate thought that he or she would become the next president, that person should know that only God had that knowledge. It is the good things you say and do that God endorses. That's a direct quote. Also, Indum's absence has not scared PPP. He asked me to take charge. That's the candidate, Bridget Jogbanuku. But in another interview, she actually admitted that the campaign for the 2020 polls has sharply hit a snag due to the absence of the party's founder, Dr.
Papa Kwesi Nduom.
Sometimes you ask yourself whether they coordinate, the people who manage them, because I've heard a lot of this. The last time it was David Apasera who was saying one thing, you recall, to me, and another thing when it comes to the party's ability to secure power.
I
so
think it's
sometimes,
the place,
is it that they don't remember what they're saying?
No, I think it's the place where they are, when they are asked the questions. Because sometimes you really don't expect the question that's coming.
Well.
And you're either speaking the truth or you're managing the truth.
But I would say, from what I see, it's obvious that they are missing Papa Kwesi Nduom in a way.
Of course, Papa Kwesi Nduom brought, something to the campaign. He was very visible, had, some clear policies that you hear him say every now and then. But back on our page, Ejapa deals Sako Foriata for deceiving PPP's vice presidential candidate tells Ekufuado. On the Japa deal still, Martin Amidu deserves no applause. Okay, so these are stories that, we've mentioned to you before, including that of the Manasseh instructing lawyers to sue Kennedy Japan. But this one, we won't endorse calls for dismissal of Oforiatta, says the CSOs. There was a press conference yesterday, many things that they've had to say. We're actually bringing you a lot more on the back of that presser yesterday. They basically want prosecution. They want investigations and prosecution of officials who may have breached any laws in the Ejapa royalties deal. The deal going back to Parliament, they say no. They cannot repair the defects, so don't take it back to Parliament. We will share a lot more with you after sport here on our show.
Right, and of course, Lordina Mahama has hit the campaign trail.
Oh, yes.
From Ashanti, Bono East, and all of that. Interesting developments there. Finally, she shows her face on the campaign trail. Particularly interested because of my other show on Joy Prime, Campaign Trail. We're following them, should I say boot for boot? Well, talking about boots, it's time now for sports, and Ore Kwampofo will be telling you all about the booting that has been happening, not a la Hearts of Oak, of course, maybe.
Lots of friendlies and some shockers. Did France lose? Yes, they lost.
Yeah, some interesting stuff there. Well, sports is up next. Do stay with us.